So let's take a closer look at each position after winter strength and conditioning and going through Coach Rhule's first spring at Nebraska. Who do we feel earned that top spot going into the summer and fall camp? And at the end of this video, write in the comments below what you think and who you feel looked good coming out of the spring. And please don't forget to subscribe and help us get to that 1,000 subscriber mark by the end of the month. Now let's take a closer look at the tight end position, as during the spring we saw a couple players that really stuck out. And it wasn't just the tight end position either. Janarian Bonner has thrived in the newly hybrid position, which is a combination of tight end, wide receiver, and the historic fullback position, where I feel Bonner is going to probably make a good name for himself and potentially could push his draft stock way up the next couple years. But not just as a fullback, but as that multi-position player by playing tight end, wide receiver, and fullback, which the San Francisco 49ers have made this big-time position with their use of this hybrid position. And I feel this is a position that in time will probably grow throughout the NFL, and you might start seeing more teams kind of go into that hybrid position. When it comes to the tight end position, I feel like the Huskers are sitting pretty good, as there's a lot of talent and potential in this tight end room. The one I feel we need to watch out for this year, and I mean really look out, as I feel he's on the verge of having a breakout year, and that's Thomas Fidone. As we know, Thomas Fidone's had some bad luck his first couple years with injuries, hasn't had a chance to really go out and develop and play like he'd really like to. So that's kind of hit him hard, because when you're injured like that, you can't even get the development that the coaches can give as the other players can get. But this young man is very determined to make it and make it big. And I believe he is. He's extremely talented, and I always never underestimate determination, and Fidone has plenty of that. This young man is relentless, motivated, and determined, and that combination with all the talent he has tells me he's destined to succeed. So, I've been watching Fidone throughout this winter conditioning, the strength conditioning, commitment week, and the spring drills, and you could tell he's on a mission. He's determined not only to do well and play, but to be the best at his position. And like I said, you cannot count out anyone who's that determined, has that much talent, that determined, and that motivated. And depending how well he does this year and what the NFL draft outlook has him at the end of the season, Fidone could end up going early to the NFL draft. But if his draft status is not what he thinks his potential should be, I could see him staying for that last year, which I think staying for his senior year would benefit him big time, just because he hasn't had that development period like the others. So that would, believe it or not, I believe his best year would be his senior year, after benefiting from Coach Rhule and his staff's development for 2 whole seasons. Now, for the surprise player during the spring, has to go to Nate Borkshire. Nate has looked really good all spring long and has really shined during the spring game. This former walk-on, to me, has earned the right to be a scholarship player, as Nate has brought out his best this spring. And even during the spring game, he had that big 38-yard reception from Jeff Sims right up the middle. And he looked the best out of all the tight ends, probably throughout the whole spring, but definitely during that spring game. Berkshire's play has made the tight end room now one of the team's most promising positions going into the summer and fall camp. Now, the other tight end that hasn't received his waiver yet and should see substantial playing time this season is Eric Gilbert. Gilbert did struggle during the spring game. I mean, big time. But don't take too much into this, as everyone has a bad game, and unfortunately Gilbert's came during that spring game. And keep in mind, he's going through a lot on trying to get his waiver, wondering if he's going to get to play this year or not. So, you know, he has a lot on his mind. So I'm going to kind of overlook the 2 drops that he had during the spring game. And I'm going to say, don't overlook this young man. I mean, Gilbert is 6'6", 270 pounds. He's a sophomore. He's just a physical beast. And even that, the coaches have raved about him all throughout the spring of his play and his physical presence. So I expect Gilbert to be just fine and end up having a great year this year. Also, let's remember that Gilbert was named to the freshman All-SEC team back when he was with Georgia. Or no, he was with LSU then. Back in 2020, after catching 35 receptions for 368 yards and a couple touchdowns in 8 games. So the talent, the potential is there. And if you're all freshmen in the SEC, you have big potential and talent. So don't count this kid out. The big question really is, will Gilbert receive that waiver that we've all been waiting on for a while now and get to play this year? Now, where the Huskers' concerns are for the tight ends is really the lack of experience amongst the tight ends, but the room has lots of talent and potential. Behind these 3 I mentioned, 4 if you're including Bonner, is walk-on John Goodwin. He's a 6'3", 235-pound junior. Goodwin hasn't played any meaningful games, but Rhule has brought up his name a couple times throughout the spring practice. Others include 3 redshirt freshmen in Chase Androff, Jake Applegate, and Luke, I am your father, Lindenmeyer. All 3 are battling and competing to push their way up the depth chart and trying to get some playing time this year. So this is how I kind of see the breakdown of the tight end position going into the summer and fall camp. I have my man Thomas Fidone as the #1 and potentially a big year this year. Surprisingly, I have Nate Borkersher currently at #2 based on his outstanding spring and the spring game, and kind of just the unknown of Gilbert's waiver also. But I do have Eric Gilbert right behind these 2, but could easily push his way all the way to the top spot by season time, or definitely within the before the end of the season. So let's keep an eye on Eric Gilbert during the summer and see how he does. Now, Bonner will be backing these 3 up while starting in his hybrid role as the fullback, wide receiver, and a tight end position. The remaining players we mentioned here will continue to fight and battle their way up the chart and into some playing time this fall. Hopefully one of them can emerge and break through by the end of the season. So I see a lot of potential and a lot of talent in this tight end room. So I think we're really going to be fine here. So what do you think about the tight end depth? Is this where you see it? Do you think this is Fidone's year? Is he the #1 guy? What do you think about Borkersher or Gilbert being the starter come the first game? So leave in the comments below what you think on the tight end position. Now, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and help us get to that 1,000 subscriber mark before the end of the month. And if you'd like to show your gratitude by leaving us a small $2 or $3 tip, then please use the links in the description below, as we do accept Venmo and the Cash App. To all of you that have left us a small tip, please accept our gratitude, as we really do appreciate your kindness, as we totally depend on your voluntary tips to help continue creating, editing, and uploading these videos. You can also support us on our Patreon page by becoming a Patreon member for extra perks and rewards throughout the year. This link is also in the description as well. Again, thank you for watching, and until the next video, go Big Red.